did I put my plate of cake?
Yeah!
Should play.
La 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 la. Yummy, yummy. Oh, oh, oh. Happy New Year! Happy New Year!
Segment here, it won't change. But if I take it back to ambient EQ, you're going to see that it self-adjusts. Now, if I put my finger over that sensor, you can see how dark the screen gets very quickly. This is volume control, and we have a couple of volume controls. So when you tap that little arrow there, you're seeing the alarm and timer volume. So you can adjust that distinctly or separately from the main volume adjustment. Now, if we're just simply using the volume buttons on the back, obviously we're adjusting that bass volume there. Our next control is the do not disturb mode here. You can just toggle that on and off, and then the device is going to be pretty quiet. Here is the alarm management panel, and we'll go through this in a little bit, but this is a quick way of getting back to that alarm management panel. The next segment here is actually about giving feedback. So if you're ever on a page and you have a bit of struggle, or you want to just send Google some feedback, that is what you can hit, and then this is what happens.
No problem. Tell me what needs to be improved.
Nothing. The last component is the most complex, and you can go ahead and look at device information, including the Wi-Fi network that you're connected to. Now, you can't actually change that, and you can't change the device name, but you can see some technical information about your device, including the IP address and the versions of firmware and software on the device here. Plus, you have that ability to send feedback, and you have some labels and open source licenses in there. But more importantly is your display theme here, and this allows you to adjust between light, dark, and an automatic mode. So I just leave it on the automatic mode. If it's late in the evening, it's going to adjust to dark mode, and it's going to adjust to light in the daytime when we have lots of light around. The next segment is the photo frame, and most of the time when you tap on this, it's going to tell you that it needs to know who's sitting here, but because I've been talking to the display and working with it, it will probably open this up. But what you're going to do here in the photo frame is a full management of the entire panel and what's on there. So if you want to adjust to those Google Photos, the art gallery, or that full screen clock that we showed in the basic setup, you can do that, but you can also adjust some of these other settings. So banner notifications are the ones that kind of show up in the top corner here, and they talk about calendar events, different reminders, things like that. The weather, showing that weather for your area, whether you want to show or hide that can be allowed on the clock you're using or the interface you're using. The pictures, that's likely to be there, but in some cases it will still not show up. So right now you can see I have this clock on it, and that does not allow the weather to be shown. If I'd like, I can show the time or hide it, and again, that's going to be mostly with the photos that you're putting on there. And do you want to show the personal photo data? So who took the photo, the location, things like that can show up. I usually hide that. It's
I
just
will
kinda
make sure
distracting.
you'll never
Portrait
bother
Google
me
Photos.
again.
This allows you to show 2 portrait photos on the screen at the same time if you put it in show pairs. And otherwise it will, if you just leave it in show, it will show one and then it'll kind of be across the middle here. So I like to use the show pairs. It gives me 2 pictures at the same time. Photo curation, I like to use the live albums only, and that is a longer discussion that we'll talk about in the whole photo frame section of this video today. The slideshow speed, that's allowing you to adjust how fast the pictures are actually changing. Now you also have settings for motion sense, sleep sensing, and gesture. So you can see I have my sleep sensing off right here. You could restart that whole process. Do you want motion sense, which are those gestures, and you need this on to use sleep sensing? You can also go and learn a little more
Stay out
there.
of my
For sleep
house,
sensing,
you
when you
little
go
brat.
in there, it would be turned on, but you have to calibrate first. So this is a way to come back and recalibrate your device if you ever need that for sleep sensing. The other thing you might need is quick gestures. So you want those gestures turned on. So all of this, all 3 of these sections is basically working in conjunction with quick gestures and motion sensors or motion sensing to be on. So those quick gestures are the start and the stop. And do you want that play and pause media available? You can try it out.
My dear.
One other thing you might want to do is kind of swipe there towards the right from the left to get better for you as a person, especially if you've used that voice match component and you're the last person to use this.
I won't let these
All right,
kids play
let's
with
do
snow
the quick
today.
walkthrough here. Now, one thing to note right off the bat is you can pull to the left, and then you get the clock here, or the basic clock, and this is what you'll see show up in dim lighting in most cases. But
Now
you do
you
one
know how
more
to play
pull
with
to the
snow.
left, and it'll actually turn off the whole screen. Now, I can tap, and I can tap again, and I'm coming back to here, and tap is again forward into the your evening section. Now, this will say your evening, your afternoon, your morning, whatever time of day it is, and everything on here will be a little bit customized to how you use the display. Now, each of these cards can be held a long hold on in order to give you a little menu here to open or dismiss the card if you don't want to see that one anymore. And of course, you can tap on any of these to execute what it is you want to have execute. So there goes my bedroom lights on or off as I tap on that button there. And I can tap in here in order to start adjusting the lights. Now, essentially you can control the brightness, the colors, and then if you want to individually control the lights, you can go into each one. And as you tap into each one, you can adjust each one individually, again, by the light, by the color or the brightness. Now, as I pull to the left, you can see I go back a screen, and the same thing happens again when I pull, to the right from the left-hand side. Now, as I scroll to the right, here's the Do It Again menu, and I really love this one. You could dismiss it if you're not finding it useful, but it has those basic things that you keep asking the voice assistant to do for you. And again, I scroll one more over, and I know this is blurred, but this is the household contacts. And again, you see that little arrow right here. That is allowing you to go deeper because there's more than 4 people on my list of household contacts. So if someone needs to get to it, they can kind of tap there. All of these are call icons, and you can see the difference between a duo audio call and a duo video call. Now, each section you can tap on up here in order to jump between the two, and you can actually pull left and right in order to move through the menu. So the next section is wellness. This is where you're going to get all of the
I need to be looking my best for the show tonight.
In again and again. You can see that light isn't even available right now. Now, cameras, you could go in and live view your cameras if you'd like to do that. This allows you to see the whole list of them, and then you can tap on them. Of course, when you see the names, you can request the Google Assistant to show any of those cameras. Climate, our thermostats, and then connectivity. This is because I have Nest Wi-Fi, so it will bring up my latest speed test. I could run a new one, and if I want to get my guest Wi-Fi set up, this actually brings up a QR code for my guest network. They can just use their phone to scan in order to get on the guest network. The routine section, this allows you to execute all of your different routines in your home, and I have quite a few. So when you do that, what you might end up is very similar to me. You can see over here on the right, you'll find this kind of a navigation available quite often if you have a lot of devices or a lot of items in a list. So you're able to adjust by letter very quickly. This lets you move through the menus quickly. So if you tap on any of those routines, they totally run, and you can go into each individual room here, your list of rooms, and this gives you your full look through your whole smart home. Speakers and TV becomes very useful when you are casting something and you just want to stop a different group or a different device from continuing that cast. You can also just start music, hitting that play music. There's no tap into each of these individual ones, so that's all you're getting here is the ability to play music, and when they're playing, you can get into them and then stop them. And again, we have the control for our lighting, so that's a quick on off, and we have other quick controls that we have used regularly in this section of the display. Over to media. All of these recommendations will get better and better and better as you use the device more and it knows you better and better. So YouTube Music, and then we have actually a game section now. I haven't done a ton of those here, but you've seen a few on the channel. The top stories for you section, and you will see podcasts and other types of media show up here as you use those different aspects on the display. But top stories for you, this gets trended towards your likes or your interests, and I'll show you that later in the video, how you actually can customize this a little bit. Moving into communication, we have those household contacts again. And then we also have the ability to broadcast, and you can see broadcast to another room. So you can specifically do those things just by tapping on screen here.
No,
you can also make video calls. Now, obviously with no camera here, that's a little bit different, but you're opening up the video for the other side to make a call there. Obviously, you can make general phone calls, just numbers. You can't make calls to emergency numbers, and you can call other Google Home devices. The family section, and I believe this is related to Life 360 and only available actually in the US at the moment.
Fingerprints on my
you can
mirror.
start the setup process there for that. It's probably a little bit easier.
Where's the cleaning cloth?
There's just some fun little things here for the family, and then when we head over to Discover, these are things that maybe you haven't done with the display to date, or just general interest things that maybe you or a kid might really enjoy. Now, up at the top, you're noticing this little bed here. This is the Sleep Sensing Active actually showing up, and if I wanted to, I could go in and learn more about sleep sensing. Before we get in depth into the app and into all those features that you're after, I'm going to give you just a quick rundown of the device settings. Now, what you should see at the top is that home button. If you're not in the right home, you can actually tap on the one at the very top, and this will allow you to switch between homes in case you happen to have set up multiple. Don't worry about that other home one, we'll talk about that more, and I'm just going to skip by a lot of this interface and go down to the room that we had put this Nest Hub in. Now I'm going to tap on that display, and what's really exciting for me is I no longer have to screen record here, and you don't have to have it here. I can actually hit this, cast my screen over to the Nest Hub right here.
Noi, Digi, îți oferim conexiune, iar tu te bucuri de ea. Tu cel care scrollezi la infinit. Tu cel care dai play muzicii. Tu cel care te bucuri de libertatea de a te porta. Vino în rețeaua mobilă numărul 1 la acoperire, abonați și portări. Împreună suntem Digi. Împreună suntem unul.
So from this point forward, I should be able to show you the actual settings and everything on the device right here on my screen. I'm actually really excited about that. I hope you are too. But this is a really great screen mirroring capability. So you can see that as I do these things, the screen is being mirrored right there. Now, you're probably initially thinking, oh great, I can mirror any video content. That won't necessarily work. There's still restrictions that those app makers put into the app. So you've got what you've got, try it on whatever application you like. The screen mirroring is now fully available on the Nest Hub. So now that we have the interface up here, obviously you're going to mostly be looking at this in portrait mode. I might switch like this oftentimes as we go through the video, but the first thing you're going to notice is the ability to adjust the volume, and you can see that it adjusted on the device. Now there's actually that second component that you can adjust in terms of volume on the device, but this is just the basic now playing volume that you're going to get out of it. You also have that stop mirroring capability down at the bottom of this device, and it will always say cast my screen if you're not doing that. And we have an equalizer here. So if you'd like to adjust a little bit how the device sounds, you do have some capability here. To do that, I would say you just kind of leave it in the middle. In general, you're going to find the
Nothing a
display
massage
all
can't
right
fix.
to listen to. The next button is top right. It is the full settings for this device. Now, we have a ton of different settings that we're going to walk through here. And as we do that, I'll talk a little bit about how some of these things work. Go ahead and you hit that save button over on the right. Now, if you ever forget the Wi-Fi here, you can see the little forget button over there.
I will
You
have
do that,
everyone at
basically
my
you've got a
feet.
factory reset and reset up the device. So if you ever change your Wi-Fi credentials, you're going to have to hit forget if you can anymore. You likely can't. And what happens is you end up factory resetting. So that little forget button, I don't
Try
find
this
it
on a
really
grander
useful.
scale.
Time format, you can switch between 12 and 24. Now, the preview program is something that I find very interesting personally. Now, next up is the preview program, and I find this aspect of the device very interesting. So when you go into that, you can join the preview program and you can allow email notifications as well to your email about this program. Now, I always do that, and the reason I do that is because I happen to enjoy getting new features, even if they're a little bit buggy. So that's what happens here is you basically, once you've joined the preview program, you're going to get some of those new features a little bit before everyone else. There is also some data on licensing if you are into that sort of thing. I'm not. And then you do have some technical information. So you might at some point be asked what the cast firmware or the system firmware is, if you can support from Google on this.
I will
you
make
might be
sure
after
you'll
that information.
never
You can
bother
also
me
see the
again.
IP address if you're someone who kind of manages what devices are on your network like I do. Well, back to the bedroom display settings here. I'm going to go into recognition and sharing. Now, the linked accounts, that is something that you'll see grow as you add family members, which we'll talk about later. But the recognition and personalization components of this display, well, we've already set that up in the initial setup. And if you didn't set personal results and do the voice match, you're going to see something a little bit different here.
I will
You probably
punish
want
you,
to turn on
you
that
little
allowing
rascal.
of personal results, the photos, the email, the calendar, contacts, all of those different things. All of that functionality goes away if you don't have personal results turned on. Now, how personal results appear, this is a little bit different on this new Nest Hub. See, what's happening today is most of your information isn't really that personal to you. You might have a calendar entry for an appointment, but now with the sleep sensing, your data will actually show up physically on the display. Anyone could look at it. There's no camera on this, so it doesn't know through the face match feature that the Google Nest Hub Max has. It doesn't know who's looking at the display. It only knows who's asked. So if you say proactively show it, some of that data will show up on screen and anyone could look at that. You've got to decide if you want that to happen. Down below is voice match, so if you
Prepare
haven't
to
done
have
this,
your
you can go
mind
ahead
blown.
and adjust voice match. We've got a couple of different
Here
components
we
here,
go.
and you can see that the first section is about
Am I
this
not
phone
the
right
greatest
here. So
scientist
you may or may
ever?
not have that, but if you
What?
have the Google
What is
Assistant
it?
on your phone and it can listen for the wake word, it's the Android, then you have this radio button to